Money is a resource, like any other roguelite. It's useful. It allows you to buy things, and money can be exchanged for goods and services. Um, what you're going to be spending it on are items and, well, goods and services. Items from the shop, or Chaos fonts if that shows up, but we'll get onto that. Or strangers will sometimes demand money. There are also other effects that will result in you losing money or having to spend money on things. Yeah, money is it's useful. It's always good to have money. I don't think it's ever bad to have money. Um, One thing that's worth pointing out is that every item in the codex here has a cash value. So, Midas's Glove is worth 6, Blood Bank is worth 12. When you enter a shop will give you items up to, well, within sort of the amount of money you can afford. The shop does not necessarily have to charge you the amount of money the item is worth, and depending on your difficulty, I think, they will gouge you sometimes, or sometimes they'll charge you a fair price. Not always the case. Um, so if you have an item in mind, you want a little bit more money than it's actually worth, just to make sure that the shop will give you it and you will be able to afford it. I've also lumped. Well, actually, money is also useful for purchasing from nomads. It's useful for activating elders. It's useful for activating strangers. Um, Money comes from coins, which are worth 1, unless you have something that says otherwise. Diamonds are worth 5, again, unless you have something that says otherwise. And purple diamonds are rare, although they are more common if you are equipping a gem cut glove. I say equipping, you just have to have it in your inventory because it's not consumable. Um, Purple diamonds are worth an awful lot of coins. Sometimes it seems to be around about 30 in my experience. I don't know what the range is though. I've also lumped in minions and familiars. Minions don't actually appear in the consumables, I think. I'm pretty sure, actually. No, just things that generate them. A minion appears as a cute little rat in your inventory, and it counts as a consumable. They're also passive in a way. A minion will, if you click on a monster, will take 1 damage for you, or if you click on the minion, it will solve one random cell for you. Either of these actions will cause the familiar to be removed. They're useful for resolving 50/50s if you don't have any other cells on the board that need to be resolved. Otherwise, they're a bit of a gamble. They're not often worth relying on, but they are useful to have in your back pocket at certain times. The other one is the familiar, which I think it looks a little bit like a very squat version of Cactuar from Final Fantasy. They're just a little green guy with little arms and legs and sort of like a little vacant-looking face. They will appear on the board and they will move 1 cell every turn. If a minion walks onto an unflagged cell with a monster on it, the minion will solve that cell and die, unless you have something that says that your minions are stronger. And if a minion walks onto a unflagged cell with no monster, they will solve that cell and keep on going on the next turn. Um, it's useful to flag when you have minions because they will just avoid monsters, and you don't want them to die really. It is often useful to have them wandering around. Although minions will, like mercenaries, also collect loot for you, and sometimes you don't want to collect loot, so be a little bit careful, keep an eye on your stage mods.